Hello everybody, and welcome to what will probably be a backdoor pilot to a different series that I may start one day, but I wanted to do just sort of a wrap up to the Asgard versus the Universe March to Defeat Ronan video series. Just so this at the end of the playlist, and also throw people off in case anyone happens to notice that, there's a certain amount of videos listed. That means it must end at, so entry number XYZ. What I figured I would do here today is I'm going to just go through the Ronan encounter set, the encounter deck, I should say. So everything that is involved with Ronan. So Ronan the Accuser. We don't need to cover the Power Stone. We don't need to cover Standard. Those are pretty by the books. But then also Ship Command and the Cre Militants. And this will sort of be like a new player guide for a villain, while at the same time just being a vehicle for me to talk about my experiences playing through Ronan the Accuser with Thor. Because I mean, honestly, if you looked at like the decks I'd played, the best advice I can give is to just play better. There were a lot of mistakes I made that, some of them I didn't even mark in the video because people on Reddit or people in the Discord noticed them, and I didn't even notice them in editing. Like, I think one of them being, like, I think at one point I sneak attack in White Tiger and draw cards. You can't do that. So while I may one day do a series where I just go through each one of the deck techs, let's just look at what actually we were going up against and use each card. We'll go in numerical order through the sets, but we'll look at each card and just sort of like hypothesize what lessons could be learned from these cards. My hope is that this does not go on forever. I do not want this to be a 45-minute to an hour-long video, but you have time at the bottom of the screen, so So let's kick it off right away. We were playing Standard Ronan. I don't even want to imagine what Expert Ronan would have looked like, honestly. But we have Ronan. He is a 2-scheme, 2-attack villain with toughness and a forced interrupt on both of the abilities. So force interrupt: when Ronan the Accuser activates against you, give him one additional boost card if you control the Power Stone. Now the Power Stone, just for anybody who's not aware, we'll briefly just talk about how it is a card that gives you +1 to either scheming or thwarting, depending on who's holding it, and then +1 to attack. And it moves back and forth when the character that it's attached to gets dealt 3 damage. There is a difference between deal and take. You can deal 5 damage, and toughness can make it so that you take 0 damage. That is one of the reasons why, especially early on in my YouTube career, I did not want to do Ronan, because I felt like there were so many rules, things that I was just going to get tripped up on. But that is an important thing, and I really hope that I did not mess this up. I don't think I did, besides the times that I called it out, but just this ability to, when he activates against you, he gets an additional boost card if you have the Power Stone. I don't think I messed that up too much. It's possible that I did somewhere along the line, that he schemed and he should have gotten an additional encounter card. I tried to call that out. The further I got into it, the more that it was kind of just glued into the back of my brain, but it's certainly something that I just hope I did not mess up in any crucial ways. But the internet will be the internet, and they will discover that. Beyond that, I feel like the toughness was just a strategic thing that I needed to work around. I needed to either have a plan for dealing 1 damage with an ally, or once I moved into aggression, having piercing strike to have that piercing. Thor does not necessarily have that. He is a very blunt weapon hero, and so having piercing, in the magical world where you have someone like, I suppose like Deadpool or Domino, who I think their weapons that they have in their kit gain piercing for those attacks, like that's super nice. But for Thor, I just needed to, like I said, have a plan. How was I going to get rid of it? How was I going to push him into the next stage in such a way that I would have piercing in my hand when it happened? And that's just sort of, that is something you just need to figure out as you go. Additionally, he has 14 health per player. I would say that by the end, that really just became, okay, so it is 2 hammer throws. How can I take off the tough and then get 2 hammer throws in back to back? And obviously you can't plan what you're going to draw for, but in a dream world where you happen to have 2 hammer throws in your hand, you can go, I will hammer throw this turn, and I will have the other one in my hand to hammer throw next turn. And that is kind of wasteful because you are losing some card advantage, but if you're going to be able to do that, all power to you. But still, as we will get into with some of the minions, this gets complicated. It seems like such a straightforward plan. Just deal 14 damage to him. I'm pretty sure that is, if not exactly what Rhino has, it's very similar to what Rhino has. And so it doesn't seem like it's that complex, but it becomes very complex very quickly. Then when we move to stage 2, he now has 2 scheme, 3 attack, still has toughness. When revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for Cut the Power, a side scheme that we will get to in a little bit. You reveal it and then you shuffle the deck. Force Interrupt, when he would activate against you, he gets an additional boost card if he controls the Power Stone. So a lot of the same. The most strategic thing that I could do here is, obviously we will get to Cut the Power. Hopefully I will remember to elaborate on anything else that I think about in the meantime about this, but I spent a lot of mental energy, if Cut the Power just came out naturally throughout the game, just trying to drive him into stage 2 while it was still out, as to not have to deal with it twice. If I remember correctly, it makes it so that you cannot mess with the main scheme. It has the crisis icon on or whatever. I could be wrong. We'll get to it in a second. But yeah, there's not too much more here. He has 18 health per player. That is a little bit more daunting. For Thor, that means that if you can get the Power Stone, maybe you have a ally in play to kind of like take the brunt of the damage he's going to throw at you. Or you can just gain toughness. That was one of the plans why I wanted to go into protection, because I thought, well, maybe if I just run a perfect defense deck, that'll do it, and that didn't happen. But I think the game plan for me that I kind of came to eventually was just try to brunt the first attack he throws at you once he runs into the stage, and just try to drive those hit points down as much as possible. If I remember correctly, and I edited all the videos, and so I certainly have a loose idea of the mistakes I made, but I can't say episode to episode what mistakes I made. And as I think back to the final episode where I won out, I believe he started at like 14 hit points, and I needed to just go super crazy. Well, yeah, that was when I had to throw the Hail Mary. I need to minion summon and get the steady upgrade so that I can just avoid this stun. And yeah, that was an electric moment. But yeah, my stance is that in a perfect world, you can burn through that 18 health in 2 turns. That's not always going to happen. I imagine that with someone like Silk, who's not a huge damage dealer, or I'd love to kind of think about what Ms. Marvel would do, because I feel like Thor has the advantage of the fact that once he gets you to the stage, that second stage, it's just push through the damage. Just take everything you've built and push through the damage. And I don't know how other heroes would necessarily handle that. I suppose you just do the same thing. You try to build up so that you, as your character, are dealing as much damage as possible. But that is the 2 stages that we had to worry about. And beyond that, I would say, obviously, you have the same worries about standard, getting advance, getting assault, caught off guard, what have you. I will say, actually, you know what? Caught off guard, I don't even know if that was ever really a factor. I think it probably took out like something I cared about, but it was never a big deal. It was Gang Up was the other one that kind of messed with me, and then obviously Shadow of the Past. But yeah, I would say we don't want to see assault because you're giving him an additional attack. He has additional attacks all over his kit, and we will get to those in a second. But I think that's the one out of standard that I'd be the most worried about. Other than that, I feel like I've covered everything that's kind of needed to be covered. Let's move on to the rest of the encounter set, and hopefully we'll not go on as long. First up, we have the main scheme, Interception Imminent. So it's set up, this just tells you to put in the command ship environment, which again we'll get to. Milano, we'll get to the universal weapon, can't wait to talk about that, and the Power Stone. And then it just has a threshold of 7, and a first hero action of exhaust the Milano, remove 3 threat from the scheme. It goes up by 2 every turn and starts with 2. I would love to say that you can just ignore this, because to some degree, just knocking off a few pieces of threat to try to survive, get like one more extra turn, is probably something worth thinking about. I don't really know if I ever removed 3 threat with the scheme with the Milano. That's probably not a horrible thing to do with the Milano on the first turn. Just get it down to 0. As I will get to with the Milano, I do feel like it is one of the things that makes playing Galaxy's Most Wanted a little difficult, because it just turns into too many spinning plates. And this is one of the plates that you can spin with the Milano. 7 is low. And which is why I think a lot of advice on this would be to just try to make this last 2 turns. And, you know, I guess if you go into Alter Ego, you go into Alter Ego knowing you're just going to let it get flooded with threat, and then you will just come out guns a-blazing the next turn. Not too much other advice. And the smart thing might be to remove 3 threat from the scheme with Milano. I don't know if I ever utilized that, though. Moving on to the other main scheme, Take What Is Mine. When revealed, attach the Power Stone to Ronan, the Accuser. If it's already attached to him, give him an additional face down boost card. This was sort of just a crapshoot. He was either going to get it, or he was either going to get the Power Stone, or he wasn't. He was either going to get a face down a boost card, or he wasn't. I don't feel like there was a clean split, but I think that it was pretty close to even like a 45-55 split that was going to happen over the course of the games that actually reached the second stage. I guess I always reached the second stage. Well, no, that's not true. I might have just gotten completely like destroyed. Just got the beat down. But either way, we flip it over. It has a 10 threat threshold. It starts at 1 and it goes up by 2 every turn. And while the Power Stone is attached to Ronan the Accuser, threat cannot be removed from the scheme. If this stage is completed, the players lose the game. So this was a legitimate lose condition. I think that's probably very obvious. The most frustrating part about it was just the fact that you lose the Power Stone, and then there was probably always going to be 1 or 2 minions, which Thor should be able to handle. That was not always the case. I would find myself very commonly unable to really do anything about the threat that was on this because getting the Power Stone back was just beyond my reach. And I put that down to not getting rid of guard minions as quickly as I probably should have. I also put that down to not getting rid of patrol minions as quickly as I should have. You kind of gamble, you kind of just go for broke sometimes. And even though you know you're going to cut the power, it's going to mess with you, some of these things just stack up, and I know at least once or twice I lost the game just because trying to keep Take What Is Mine in check just did not happen. But you know, you're going to run into that every time. So the best advice that I can give to you is just try to get that Power Stone back and then try to get it down to 0 and hopefully not have to worry about it. I also consciously know that part of what allowed me to win was just not caring, just going, I am just going to deliver pile driver after pile driver at Ronan and just get his life down before this can get out of hand. And I think that's probably sound advice. It's just scary because if you slip up at all, if you get a obligation that you have to exhaust yourself, or an obligation that the other option just completely guts you as well, you lose a turn and suddenly this is legitimately a threat to threat out. You go to Alter Ego one time too many and you kind of box yourself into a corner. Not too much more to say about it. That is the main scheme. So often we see this with just you're gonna lose, and this is a hard one. I will say both of these main schemes are hard. They definitely apply the pressure in a combination. It's what makes Ronan so difficult. Next up, we have the Cre Command ship, a environment aerial vehicle, and it has the what is it called? I never remember what these are called. The one that gives you the extra encounter card. I don't remember what icon this is called. And then it has the first player interrupt of when a treachery is revealed from the encounter deck, exhaust the Milano and spend 1 resource of any type. Cancel that card's when revealed effects. Lordy Lord, I hope that I did not mess this up. I feel like I edited episode 8 and didn't notice this happening, but anytime you use that first player interrupt, you need to remember to use a thing. I'm pretty sure I did that in the 7th game, where I very much called it out, where it's like, I'm not paying attention to this. But yeah, this is just another one of those plates that'll spin. We'll get to the Milano in just a moment. I appreciate that it both gives you an extra encounter card and gives you a way to get out of the treacheries. There's also the added effect of, for fun, you might end up with 3 or 4 encounter cards in front of you, but then additionally, just the threat of, okay, so you're getting 2 of them, and the first one you see is a treachery. Do you cancel it, or is the next card also a treachery that you're afraid of even more? And then when you reveal that it's not a treachery, suddenly you're just like, oh, well, I guess I could have canceled that other one. That's unfortunate. So it is a gamble. It is a meaningful choice. I will say, if nothing else, Ronan gives you meaningful choices. And having this in play constantly definitely keeps the pressure going in a way that I feel like a lot of people that love expert and stuff are probably just like, well, that was great. I do not I do not love trying to handle 2 encounter cards every turn, and it's brutal. I consciously know that first with that single player, true solo is probably one of the hardest ways to play Marvel Champions, because yes, you do have the advantage of a lower life total, and big attacks like your swinging web kicks and your hammer throws really matter a lot more, but you can get so affected by cards like this, and so it's really difficult. Anytime that you are having to deal with more than one encounter card on the regular consistently throughout a scenario, solo is just difficult, and that's part of the challenge. That's why I like doing Asgard versus the Universe, because I know Thor's capable of it. It's just a matter of me figuring out that puzzle. Then we have the Universal Weapon, attachment. Weapon traded gives +1 scheme, +1 attack. It attaches to Ronan the Accuser. It starts in play when you start the scenario, and Ronan the Accuser gains Stalwart, so you can't stun or confuse him. I don't really know if that ever came up. It's possible that there was like a Professor X play where if this had come out, it would have like messed me up if they got reattached. And a hero action of take 2 damage and deal yourself 1 face down encounter card. Shuffle Universal Weapon into the encounter deck. And then a boost ability on it that when you reveal this during a boost as a boost card, you just attach it to Ronan the Accuser. So it's going to make its way back to him. There's probably times when this is not the correct answer, but for me, I should have just been getting rid of the Universal Weapon as much as possible. I should have been getting rid of the Universal Weapon and just doing Defender of the Nine Realms and hoping that I would just push it through that way every time. Like anytime I had Defender of the Nine Realms, I should have used that chance to just chance it. Even if it is a 5% chance, the idea of him not having the Universal Weapon for the entire scenario is so important. That would make such a difference. And I'm not even saying that's what you should be gambling for, but I would definitely say that it's probably unquestionable a good strategy to just push the Universal Weapon into the encounter deck. You will heal that damage back at some point. You will make it. You'll make it work. This is a brutal card. I think the Stalwart is maybe the worst part. The extra scheme and the extra attack is just it's just part of what Ronan does. But yeah, overall, this is a card that anytime that I drew it as a boost card, I feel like the game just got worse. Then we've got 2 copies of Fanaticism. A attachment with Surge. It is condition traded and attached to Ronan the Accuser with uses 1 Fury counter plus 1 additional Fury counter. I feel like I did that correctly most of the games. Gives +1 attack and a force interrupt of when Ronan the Accuser attacks you. That attack gains Overkill and Piercing, which is notable if you are trying to block with an ally. And at the end of that attack, remove 1 Fury counter from here. So this will burn itself off after 2 attacks. This was frightening, to say the least. I don't know if I ever really came out in the episode or in the episodes, but I definitely worried about this. The piercing and the overkill just means that you have nothing to hide behind. You have to factor in whatever the boost cards are going to look like, because all but 1 or 2 of that damage, if you block with a minion, is just going to get carried over to you. And that is just kind of the way it is. This is a scary card. And the best advice I can give is to just try to find a way to work around it, or try to basically win so quickly that he gets 1 or 2 attacks in, he gets that 1 attack in and he doesn't get the second one. That's a really stupid strategy, and and there's no nuance here. It's just, this is scary, and you just need to figure out how to handle it. Then we've got Cut the Power, which we spoke about briefly. It is a side scheme, just makes it so that you can't thwart the main scheme, and then it comes in with 3 threat per player, and then a boost ability of choose to either exhaust the Milano or place 2 threat on the main scheme. 1 more spinning plate. Jesus. And of course, if you use the Cre command ship, and then this comes up as like your second encounter card, you're like, oh, well, now I can't do anything. This is something that I think I probably should have been more afraid of. I just never was. I never really accounted for this, but I think that the chance that this could be a heading threat to the main scheme was probably relevant, and I was just too naive to even think about it. It is something to factor in, but for the most part, I think it's most synonymous for just being that thing that the second stage is going to bring in, bringing this down to 1 or 2 threat, and then just like getting to the next stage where it would grab it out and then go, okay, now let's get rid of Cut the Power. It's a pretty simple design, but I will give the designers kudos. This is simple but very, very powerful. And we've got 2 copies of Piercing Maneuver, a side scheme with 2 threat per player, or sorry, comes in with 3 threat and then has Hinder 2, so it gets 2 additional threat per player. And first tier action of Exhaust the Milano, remove 3 threat from the scheme, and then it has 2 acceleration icons on it. I don't recall this being a card of any note. It certainly probably made the math on the main scheme far more difficult, but I feel like it was just one of those ones where you either handle it or you don't. It's not a good strategy. That's not one that I would endorse for most cards, but it just sort of like happened. And again, sometimes it's thrown at you and you're just like, this is why I wanted to go into Justice when I was playing through, because it's like there are so many side schemes and I can literally do nothing about them. And obviously, quite honestly, I think when I moved to Aggression, I just got lucky that I did not have as many side schemes as I could have, because I probably could have done another 3 games and finally reached the result I got. But this is just one where you just need to get rid of it. But when are you supposed to get rid of it? Because it's got 5 threat on it at a base, which once again, that was part of the psychology. These things are the kind of things I think about between games. That's part of the reason why I went into Justice. I was like, okay, I want to try out the Raft, but also like, what if I had some loose ability, even if it's just Jessica Jones? I don't even know Jessica Jones is in the deck, but like Overwatch, Jessica Jones, that kind of stuff. Like, will this be the answer that makes it so that Thor can handle the attacks, and we'll just have all the Justice cards handle all the side schemes? Yeah, this is just a beast card, and you just have to figure out how to make it work. Then we've got 1 copy of Superior Tactics, a side scheme, comes in with 2 threat per player, and the Power Stone cannot be unattached from Ronan the Accuser. When revealed, attach the Power Stone to Ronan the Accuser. If it's already attached, place 1 threat per player here. I know this tripped me up at least once. I feel like this may have only come into play twice. One time of note and one time where it was just like, all right, I mean, it is what it is. Maybe I instantly got I wouldn't have instantly got the Power Stone back. I would have had to deal with this. Either way, maybe this only came into play once or twice. This is, again, like Cut the Power. It's very simple. There's a lot more text on this, but like, this is very simple, but at the same time, it's very potent. And the best advice I can give you for this is to just take it out and move on with your day. It's just another speed bump, and it's a very efficient speed bump. Then we've got 2 copies of Singleminded Fury. A treachery with 1 revealed, Ronan the Accuser attacks the player who controls the Power Stone, even if that player is in alter ego form, which is scary. If no attack was made this way, this card gains Surge, and then it has a boost ability of attach the Power Stone to Ronan the Accuser. I don't know that the boost ability ever came into play. I feel like anytime I would have gotten this, the Power Stone was already on him. And so for the most part, it was just a encounter card I got that just, like I said, Assault is a card from Standard that you don't run into, and Single-Minded Fury is the Assault stand-in, and it is not fun, especially getting attacked in Alter Ego. But also, I have a feeling like this was just Surge a lot. I just feel like he already had the Power Stone at these advantageous moments, and so like the attacks just didn't come. I just burned through the deck faster. But yeah, overall, this is a treachery. It's gonna do what treacheries do. Then we've got Cre Physiology, a treachery with Surge. I know I missed that at least once. When revealed, give Ronan a tough status card. If he already has a tough status card, take 1 damage. This is pretty simple, and I get why it has Surge. In some ways, I feel like it has enough. I don't know. It's hard. This is like one of those cards where I could see Surge is kind of crucial, and in other ways, I feel like Single-Minded Fury already has an alternate Surge. This could maybe if he already has a tough status card, he take 1 damage and this card gains Surge. I think having Surge every time is so rough, but at the same time, it's just a very simple one. This is the kind of treachery that, in some ways, almost feels like not an encounter card at all. Like, you just roll with it. Either he gets a tough status card and you just have to ping it off, or you get it super early, he still gets the tough status card, you take a damage. And you just Surge and you just have to keep rolling with it. Like, so much of this encounter is just trying to keep your feet below you, and this is one of those cards that just tries to knock you out balance. And finally, we've got 3 copies. I don't even know that I knew that there was 3 copies, but 3 copies of You Stand Accused, a treachery with when revealed in Alter Ego, Ronan, the Accuser, schemes for 1, or schemes with +1 scheme, and when revealed in Hero, Ronan attacks you with +1 attack, and a boost ability of give the villain 1 additional boost card for this activation. I don't know that this ever came up to have him scheme. I feel like I tried to avoid him scheming at all costs anyway. I mean, this is just your classic, I mean, we have this in standard as well, but just your classic additional scheme, additional attack. No, we don't have this in standard. Let me just look. Yeah, I just so happened to be playing against Sandman earlier today. Yeah, okay, so this isn't a copy of anything out of standard. This is an effect we see a lot, but this most of the time was just giving additional boost cards and the occasional attack. It is what it is. It's rough when it happens because for the most part it seems to always happen when you have 2 life left and you're just like, well, I can't defend anymore. This was a game ender a few times. I feel pretty confident in saying that. This ended the game multiple times just by being that extra attack that I did not need. And I know I said out loud, please do not let both of my encounter cards be some form of extra attack because I just can't handle it. But let's move on to Ship Commander real quick. This is pretty quick and pretty short, and I feel like we can blow through this. The Milano, which we get, is a support aerial vehicle permanent setup. The first player controls the Milano, so it just kind of is a nice stand-in for the first player token. And it has the piloting ability, which is a resource, exhaust the Milano, generate a wild resource for any player. I don't feel like that's relevant. For the most part, the Milano is going to just be a way to keep all those plates that were spinning that we talked about, just keep them spinning. You need to have the Milano to do the Cre command ship. You need the Milano to take 3 threat off the main scheme or off a side scheme of some kind. I think I would be happier with with the Galaxy's Most Wanted box if the Milano was just not around all the time. The Milano adds so much extra bookkeeping that I do not enjoy. And I feel like the one encounter, the one scenario where I don't feel it as much, even though I probably should, is Nebula. I feel like I've just set my mind that I believe the Milano takes counters off of Nebula's ship, and I feel like that's just, you just set yourself up. You just go, I'm just going to keep removing counters from this thing to try to like keep that in check, and that's just what the Milano does. It's nice to have the wild resource on the first turn. I generally just think of it as an extra resource for the first turn, and that's what it generally is. But then after that, I'm lucky if I get to use it as a wild resource because I'm probably using it to stop an encounter card. Then we've got, there's no double copies. Okay, so we got Rogue Vessel and Environment. I don't even know. I think this came in once or twice as an environment. Aerial vehicle. It has Surge. Thanks a lot. Force Interrupt. When the villain phase ends, deal 1 damage to each player. Woof. First player action. Exhaust Milano and spend 2 resources of any type. Discard this card. Oh, I wish I had more advice to say about it, but I think of one notable time in early on when this came out. But other than that, this was just the 2 boost icons. This is rough. It definitely tangles you up because you get it, and then you have to basically say, okay, either I just got rid of a treachery and I can't use the Milano on this turn, but I have to use it next turn. Like this is rough. And obviously it's supposed to play with the Milano. It's part of the Milano's encounter set, but just, yeah, like I don't have a lot of experience with this. The Surge is rough, and getting rid of it is also rough. But at the same time, you can kind of ignore it if you have to. It's just dealing 1 damage to you, and yes, that is a 10th of your life for most heroes. But you just had to plan. You just had to plan your game plan around the fact that your life is going to slowly tick away, and you can't just rely on going down to like 1. Then we have Cannonade, a side scheme with 1 threat, and then it comes in with Hinder 3. So in single player, it's a base of 4. First hero action, exhaust Milano will remove 3 threat from the scheme, and then it just has the Amplify icon. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get rid of this. I feel like it got tangled up a couple times in the game, and I just never did. But yeah, this is one that I just want to get rid of. Just for the Amplify icon is obnoxious. And well, again, it's just another plate that gets spun by the Milano. It is just, you can use the Milano to deal with it. And I think in multiplayer, it's a lot more likely that the Milano will actually be able to do that. But in single player, I just feel like you have to put so much energy into the Milano, keeping your counter cards count low. Then we have Blindside, a treachery with peril. When revealed, choose to either exhaust the Milano, spend physical resources, or stun the first player. For the most part, this was generally just exhaust the Milano, and then if not that, then I was stunning Thor. But hopefully you do not find yourself in a scenario where you need to do that too often, and this is just an auto exhaust the Milano. Hull Breach, very similar. Treachery with peril. When revealed, choose to either exhaust the Milano, spend genius resources, or deal 3 damage to the first player. This one I definitely want to just use exhaust the Milano. Losing 2 cards, which is either half of Thor's hand size or 40% of Odin's Sons, is rough. And if you can just get rid of your wild resource generator for the turn, you are thankful. I cannot guarantee you will have genius, and so taking 3 is rough, and you just want to, like I said, you just want to exhaust the Milano. And rounding out everything, we have Power Siphon, which I'm pretty sure I called Siphon Energy or Siphon Power at least once or twice. Again, peril, choose 1, exhaust the Milano, spend energy, or discard a card at random from the first player's hand. I know I chose a few times to discard a card at random from the first player's hand because it's like, I have 2 copies of the card I'd like to play. I can afford to discard a card at random. It's rough to lose that extra hand size. And then, ironically, the kind of parody of all this is that the Milano represents a resource, which is what the random card represents. So, in some ways, it's not even a choice. It's either spend energy, or lose it's either lose 2 resources going into your next turn, or lose 1 resource going into your next turn. And then last card in the ship command is Special Delivery, a treachery. When revealed, in Alter Ego, you may exhaust Milano if you do not the villain schemes with +1 scheme, or if one revealed in Hero, you may exhaust the Milano if you do not the villain attacks you with +1 attack. Again, I think this was one of those examples where I don't know that this I feel like this was mostly a boost card. In terms of as an encounter card, I think you just choose to exhaust the Milano. Again, it's funny how as I'm going through this, I'm realizing just how much there are treacheries that the Milano just exhausts and you don't even need to worry about the extra resource. I think that's also why, to some extent, the times when I might have messed up, it was because so many other times there were cards that explicitly just said, just exhaust the Milano and this card is dealt with. And so anytime when it was used the Cre command ship's ability, it was messing me up because that was not a factor for the other 60% of treacheries I had to deal with. But yeah, overall, this is rough. This could be a game ender. It is an extra attack. It is something you need to factor in, but you do have an easy out to it, and hopefully you do not get too royally screwed by that. And rounding everything out, we are, oh my god, we're gonna make it under the wire here. So moving into Cre Militants, we have Cre combat armor attached to the enemy with the highest attack. That's probably going to be Ronan. Reduce the amount of damage attached character takes from each attack by 1. Hero action, spend 3 resources of the same type, discard this card. Thor has an economy problem, so I know that this is going to be difficult. Honestly, I think the plan here is you just try to get rid of this as quickly as possible, or you're just doling out 6, 7, 8 damage. So even when it gets reduced, yes, it's probably buying the villain an extra turn or 2, but you just don't care. You just have to play through it. You hit that crossroads. When this card comes out, you have the crossroads. Am I going to spend 3 resources of the same type? Is that a reasonable thing to assume? Or am I just going to start throwing hammers at people and 7 is close to 8? Yeah, this is rough, especially because it does not have a kind of I guess an ejector button here. Like, you have to deal with it in one specific way. You don't get to just deal like 7 damage to it and it breaks, and that's rough. But that is just kind of what it is. Then we have 3 copies of Cre Commando. A 1 scheme, 2 attack, 6 health minion with the Cre and soldier traits, and then it has patrol, which means while this minion is engaged with you cannot thwart the main scheme. It has a boost ability of, if this activation is an attack, this attack gains piercing. This was one of my least favorite minions to run into, and there's not a lot of minions to run into. This was annoying because Thor already had enough trouble with the main scheme and thwarting that this just being another thing, yes, he has an answer to it. He can just deal 6 damage, but there are 3 of them, so it's very possible that you whack them all one and another one's just going to pop up. This was maybe not the most annoying of the minions. I'm trying to think when I was doing minion summoning what my order would have been. I suppose this probably would have been the second minion I would have looked for. It's not the first one. We'll get to the first one in just a second, or in just a moment. But I'm lucky that a hammer throw takes this out, and that those are easy to come by. And I'm lucky that when I got into aggression, full body charge also takes this out and is likely to have overkill. Overkill is so helpful in this scenario because you can both open up the ability to thwart the main scheme again and also get some damage through. And sometimes all you're looking to do is just do a hammer throw, break the tough on Ronan, and now you're open to start, taking the world by storm. Then we have 2 copies of Cre Lieutenant, a minion with 2 scheme, 1 attack, 7 health, guard, and stalwart. This character cannot be stunned or confused, and a boost ability of if this activation is an attack, this card gets 3 boost icons for this activation. This is frightening as a boost card. Luckily, it does not give overkill, but fanaticism may be a factor. More likely than anything, I'm just trying to get this out and get it defeated as quickly as possible. The guard is rough. You have to deal with it. This is the last minion I would go looking for because it has the highest health, and it definitely stands in your way. Again, I did not sit here and break down the encounter sets, so I don't know that I knew that there was 2 copies of Cre Lieutenant. I might have assumed that there was only 1. There are 2 of them. You do need to keep your eyes on them. If you are multiplayer, this is probably a lot easier to handle because you just have the person that it's attached to. Just have to go through the guard. But yeah, overall, it's the last minion in this encounter that I would be looking for. Speaking of things I'd be looking for, I would definitely be looking for the Cre Private. We have 3 copies of the Cre Private. It is a 1 scheme, 1 attack, 5 health minion with the Cre and soldier traits and quick strike, and then a boost ability of if this activation is an attack, it gains overkill. This was one that I worried about a lot. This was the one that was going to be the scariest. How many copies of Cre Private are in the discard pile? I think I had figured out at one point that there were 3 because I had 7 and 9 in the discard pile. So I knew that 8 was still in there, but this is one that I had to keep a factor in. If I'm going to do minion summoning and I can choose what I'm getting, I'm grabbing the Cre Private because I am getting around overkill. And yes, you have quick strike, you're going to take a damage, but that's it. After that, it's just 5 damage. I can deal 5 damage all day, every day. You're good. It's the chance to gain overkill for Ronan that is the scariest. Which is why, again, if you have the ability to pick what minion you're going to go with, you pull out Angela, you get to look at 10, and Cre Private's one of them, you're going to grab Cre Private. It's like printing free money at that point. But yes, overall, that is everything to do with the Ronan the Accuser scenario. I don't really have a good wrap up for this, but yeah, no, this was a fun experiment. Just trying to run Thor up against Ronan. I'm amazed that it happened in only 8 attempts. Granted, it was 8 attempts over 4 months because I just thought I was going to be more consistent about it. And then it'd be well, I already filmed 1 this week. Do I need to do 2 more attempts this week? I don't think so. Maybe I should be editing that video. And yeah, overall, I'm happy for the support. It has not all premiered yet, so I don't know how well it's actually going to do. My hope is that it's just an intriguing enough thing that it will eventually just catch on and people will be like, well, now that I know how many there are, I kind of want to see the trials and tribulations here, because especially, and this came up in my announcement video, but just with current and modern coming along and with boxes like Galaxy's Most Wanted falling out of print, this is also just a form of games archiving, of going through and saying, here's what this game looked like in this time period, and this is how difficult it was. This is what we thought was the hardest villain in the game, and probably the hardest thing that will ever exist in Legacy. And so yeah, just going through and looking at everything now, happy to do it. And yeah, I look forward to the next sort of Asgard versus the Universe event. Maybe I'll try to put together one every year or every season. I don't know. I need to find villains that are worth it, and I just don't know if there's really that many. Venom Goblin is definitely up there. I feel like any of like the questing ones, like your Hellas, your Magnetos, your Apocalypse ones are probably up there too. I don't know that they would have the same level of notoriety, so we'll see. But if there's anybody has any good examples of like, hey, here's one I think Thor's going to really struggle with, that you could probably do a event around, I'm all ears. But until next time, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your support on this. I can't wait to get back to doing regular Asgard versus the Universe videos with the talking heads. I've even come up with I've started thinking about innovating on that format. But until next time, thank you so much and have a great day. And you are doing great. Keep it up.